You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into...
Deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there. And no one, no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Harry.
And the truth shall set you free!
Welcome to another episode of 8192 The Truth. This is Joel D. Supernaw for my partner, Brother Sin. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to attempt to talk about the shootings in Florida. And I'm just going to talk about them as a dad, as a parent, as a citizen, as a human, just like every one of you. I'm not going to make a political statement. I don't think there is for me there isn't a political statement. The school in Parkland, Florida, upper middle class school, upper middle class white school, and that is the exact school, that is the exact demographic of a high school that my son belongs to. It seems to me that this particular shooting, and there's been all sorts of them. There was a gentleman on television saying that the news, the fake news, has said there's been 2 a week since the beginning of the year, and then he went on and he broke it down, and from his information that he was given, he was saying, no, this is really only the first one. Okay, well, it's one too many, and I'm gonna get back to that. Just last week or the week before, I was again talking a little bit of politics, but not really, because I'm not a political person. What I was talking about was, man, we should be safe in the United States. My son should be safe to go to the park. My son should be safe to go to the store. I don't think, I'd have to go back and listen, which I won't, but you can tell me. Did I say my son should be safe going to school? Or did it completely miss my thought process? Because again, we get used to we're so busy. We're so busy doing the ins and outs of our every little day of our day, trying to come up any way we can. For me, it's this podcast. Why do we have such a short memory? Why do we have such a short memory? I was just on a plane coming back from when I was staying in Kansas City from Portland, and a madman shot up 57 people. Did he kill 57 people, or is my memory so short that big of a catastrophe, it just slipped my mind? That I have the number. I could have the number wrong. Well, the number in the school 2 days ago in Parkland, Florida, 17 killed. 2 teachers, 15 students. 15 students killed by a guy that shouldn't have been on the property. What is my take from that? Well, every single time something like this happens, both sides, the left and the right, the 2 book clubs come out and talk about guns. Okay, I'm not a gunny. I'm not a gun person. It would be more dangerous to myself to have a gun in my hand. I'm not interested in learning how to protect myself with a gun. If I can't protect myself with what I have, I'm in a lot of trouble. I would lean, because guns don't interest me, on the side of gun control. Do I think people deserve the right to have a gun? Sure, why not? It was one of the rights that we have as a U.S. citizen. Do I believe an 18-year-old kid should be able to buy an assault rifle? No. Now, I don't even know who needs an assault rifle. That's real simple. That's just common sense. That's common sense. I'm not left. I'm not right. You don't need it. 18-year-old kid doesn't need an assault rifle. I don't know who does. Well, what if the 18-year-old was able to buy a rifle? Well, sure, okay, yeah. He's not killing 17 people before he gets tackled with a rifle. He's not. No way. The coach probably gets to him. So my first order of business is that an 18-year-old kid, or anybody for that matter, that I know of, why do you need an AK? Why do you need a semi-automatic rifle? Why do you need a rifle that you can then go out and make into a machine gun, like the guy did in Las Vegas? So let's tighten that up. That's an easy fix, guys. That's an easy fix. I'm not taking a gun away from my gun people, Randy and Chael. I'm not taking a gun away from you, Rick Franklin. I'm not taking a gun away from you. Randy might have a semi-automatic rifle out in his farm as a toy out in Colorado, 100 miles away from everybody. Maybe. I don't know. I know those guys like guns. I know those guys like guns. I know they like guns, but I've never seen their gun. They've never shown me their gun. My buddy Tony Champion loves guns. Talks about them all the time. Again, I've never seen his gun. But let me clean that up real quick. That kid shouldn't have been able to buy a semi-automatic rifle. There's the first thing. The second thing is, and hopefully I will do something. Hopefully I will actually do something, try to do something to make sure that it doesn't happen at West Linn High School. I can't change the world. I cannot change the world. But it's a pretty small community here. We should be able to figure out how how we as a community can keep our kids safe at school. That should be a priority. But let me backtrack a little bit. The kid, he shouldn't have been able to get into the school. He shouldn't have been able to get into the school. This has happened too many times. That school has a security program. One of the head of the securities lost his life. He gave his life for the children, and he probably saved some kids. He jumped in front of a bullet. A football coach, and he works for school security. He shouldn't have. That man should be alive too, because the kid shouldn't have been able to get into the school. There needs to be protocol in the schools that only allow the people in the school that are supposed to be there. This isn't a student that did this. This is a private citizen that came. He's an ex-student. He shouldn't have been able to get in the school. And I'm just going to say, because I know that Parkland, Florida, is very similar to the demographic of West Linn. West Linn police are notorious for pulling people over all over West Linn nonstop every day. Every day. It's the biggest part of their job. It's the number one part of their job because this is a very, very, very safe community. And they're pulling over their own citizens. They're pulling over their own West Linn citizens for mindless tickets. I guarantee, if I spoke with the officers of West Linn, and hopefully I'll get a chance to do this. Hopefully I'll actually do something with this. And I said, how much time do you spend pulling West Linn people over for speeding? Maybe or running their plates. Maybe their insurance has lapsed. How much time do you spend there? Well, they're going to say quite a bit. This is not an indictment of the officers. I'm just telling you about my community. Our high school has one cop, one police. He is at the school. He's at the school every day. So that's something. Would he have been able to stop a kid coming in the side door with the AK, with a semi-automatic rifle and shooting up West Linn High School? No, he wouldn't. He would not have been able to. He would not have been able to, unless he lucked out, unless that kid came through an exit that he was at. Okay? It is something, but it needs to be more. It needs to be more. The kid should be safe at school 100% of the time, not 99.9% of the time. 100% of the time. A listener of the show, somebody that I would consider a friend, Joe Cockrell, listens to the show. He set Chael and I up with the gig last year at Dave & Buster's outside of San Jose. Very, very great guy. Talk to him. I would consider him a friend. You know, you meet somebody through Facebook, you interact that way. I would consider him a friend. Well, he just gave statistics. He is a security. He is head of security. He is a former police officer, and he said, "Listen, your kids have almost 0% chance of getting killed at their high school, but 25 kids a day or 25 kids a week are getting killed on our roads, whether it be by a drunk driver or just unsafe car wrecks." That made me think for literally 1 second, and I was like, Joe, neither one of those things has got nothing to do with the other. Zero to do with the other. We to keep our kids safe from getting killed in a car accident, man, we can drive safe. We can do the best we can to put them in a vehicle, but we could quit driving. We could quit driving. That would do it, and that's something that is a risk that we as parents have. We do have that. That is a risk that something catastrophic could happen to our child or ourselves out living a regular life. I could walk out the door and get hit by a car, get hit by lightning. That is a risk we have as a citizen. And yes, Joe, we could do some things to make sure that doesn't happen. But one thing's got nothing to do with the other. It should happen 0% of the time. It's happened too many times. It's happened too many times. In Oregon, it's happened more than once. Florida, it's happened more than once. We need to figure out a protocol for these schools. We can't protect our children at schools. We got a big problem. We got a big problem. Want to raise money for the high school football team? Want to raise money for the high school wrestling team? Want to raise money for the high school baseball team, basketball team, sports? Raise money for our community. Let's figure out a way that our children are safe at school. This young man was a member of the school. He pulled an alarm to get the kids out so he could start shooting at them, from what I understand. He shouldn't have been in the school. He should not have been in the school. Our kids are not the nicest kids in the world. They're mean to each other. They bully each other. We think we're raising great kids, but my son comes home yesterday and tells me, Dad, I can't believe it, man. There's kids at the school making fun of that shooting. How would you like your kid to be one of those children at the school, making fun of the shooting? Where did you guys miss that? Where'd you miss that? Are you not talking to your children? Do you not have enough time to be with your kids? That's a big miss, man. That's a big, big miss. And the first thing I want to do is act like, oh, lad, kids are immature. No, man, that is something that's really, really wrong with those students. If that was a student, if I was a coach of a wrestling team, and I heard one of my wrestlers had made fun of the Florida shooting massacre, I'm almost positive he wouldn't be on my team. And if he was going to be on my team, he would have to do some things to prove to me that is a guy that I can count on as a teammate. I'd have to meet with his parents and see, hey, where's the miss at? Are you an idiot? Because you might be. You might. I might meet you and your child who said something so stupid, so irresponsible, so inconsiderate, so lack of any kind of empathy. I'm going to have to look at you because I do know, and I want to figure out, how, because Lad is now listening to the shows. He'll come back and he'll make it a conversation piece. I think I'm going to have to pull his card because I don't want my opinions to be my son's. I want him to have his own opinions. But we should all agree that the shootings in Florida are not funny. So the kid shouldn't have been in the school. He should not have been in the school. As a community, we need to figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, let's move it on to our children. To our children. We need to get out of that comfortable group we're in. We need to spend some time. Lad talks a lot about rejection, not being included. I know what it's like to have your clique in high school. I was in a clique. I was a jock. I was kind of friends with everybody because I was poor. But I understand the clique. I understand. I probably rejected some kids. Now that my son's getting rejected, I wish I wouldn't have done it. We need to have those kids communicating with each other. In this particular situation, that guy gave us all the clues in the world that he could do something like that. Well, if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. If somebody's out there talking about doing things like that, our children need to be able to tell us. Our children need to be able to know that's wrong. Let's figure out what's going on over there. Fifteen sets of parents, just like me and Jennifer, lost their kid 2 days ago. They went to school. They were almost done with class. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. Kids in. Yeah, it should never happen again. We should make sure it never happens again. We really should. Somehow. I hope I do something. I hope I attempt to do something. And not say this is West Linn, it'll never happen here. We have a cop up there. We have a police officer up there. he can protect 1,800 students. Come on, man. No, he can't. No, he can't. Shouldn't be in there. We're smart. We could fly to the moon, man. We could fly to the moon. We got to be able to figure out a system that can keep our kids safe at school. That's a community's problem. That is our problem. We want to blame the president. Is it is it the president's fault that this happened? I haven't watched the spinners on this one. I have a hard time blaming it on the president, but I think we all need to accept some responsibility. We all need to accept some responsibility here. Semi-automatic rifles shouldn't have been able to be bought by an 18-year-old kid. That shouldn't have happened. We let that slip. A 19-year-old kid that wasn't even a member of the high school should not have been able to walk into the high school. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. We need to make sure it never happens again. We're smart people. Maybe we're spending too much time in that school. Maybe an 8-hour day at school, maybe that needs to be 5 hours. Maybe if we're only responsible for keeping our kids safe for 5 hours at the school, maybe that'll help. I don't think they need to be there as long as they are anyway. Lad comes home exhausted every day. I mean, I understand he processes information differently. But what are we doing? What are we doing? It's a big deal. I know it's not fun to talk about. I know I got a lot of listeners in other countries that they don't have this happen. This doesn't happen. They don't understand it. Well, I got a lot of listeners here. I want to hear from you. So we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to send this over to Kevin. I want to hear his opinions on this. I want to hear Kevin's opinions on this. He's going to thank our sponsors. And then I'm going to come back and talk. I'm going to talk about the Weedio. Heard me talking about smoking some marijuana on Jail Show. I'm going to give you an update on that. I believe that this will be the last time that I talk about the weed as a human experiment, but I do believe we'll have some guests on because there's a lot of things that I've learned in the last week that I didn't know before. So I'm going to throw this over to Brother Sin, and then I'll talk to you guys in a few minutes. Sin?
Alright guys, this is Brother Sin. So you just heard the Godfather's take on the recent incidents and school shootings and gun control and his opinions on how things should be handled and so forth. I too have a very impassioned opinion. I have one child in school in kindergarten. I have two more who will be coming behind her, and then a third. So I am concerned, as with anybody, I am concerned. But I am not on the bandwagon of immediately screaming for a complete disbandment of guns, making them completely illegal, making owning a gun illegal. I'm not on that train. I see some people who I respect very much, some people who have very impassioned opinions on this, specifically some mentors per se that I know who are now American citizens but have come from other countries, England specifically, that they get on Twitter and they start shouting that just ban guns already, just effing ban guns. It worked in England. We are not England. We are a different scope of country. We are a different size of country. We are a different demographic and geographical makeup. We don't have the same per capita population as England. We've got a much more broad-based rural presence, hunters, things of that nature. It's not the same. And just because England doesn't have guns, or they don't make it legal to own guns, doesn't eliminate crime. In 2016 and 2017, the National English Bureau of Crime Stats reported that they did have a 14% increase in violent crimes involving guns, a 13% increase in violent crimes involving knives. We've seen the car attacks they have over there, terror and otherwise. Just because they do not make it allowable to own a gun does not mean they have any shortage of violent crimes. That's not the case. Beyond that, it is illegal in the United States, punishable with prison time. It is a felony to own or obtain a gun illegally without proper permit. And not every school shooting involves a legally owned gun. A majority involve illegally obtained weapons. So making them illegal is not going to solve the problem. And people report over and over and over again the statistics and the common sense that if you find the places in America with the strictest gun laws, i.e. Chicago, you will see a very high rate in crime. Chicago, they're losing like 7 people a day to gun death. The murder rates are extremely high in Chicago, and they have the strictest gun laws in the country. So where's the correlation there? How does making it more severe punishment to own a gun, more restrictive gun laws, how does then making that a sweeping national change automatically cause you to assume that that will end all the school shootings and the violence? Because it will not. The proof shows it. Australia, same way as England. They have tons of violent crime, tons of violent sexual crimes, whether at knife or still with gun, because A, the majority of population is unable to arm or defend themselves, and B, just making something illegal doesn't fix the problem. And you see the memes and the posts, yeah, that solved the heroin problem, that solved the drug problem, let's make them Schedule 1 illegal. Nobody will ever do drugs again, right? Yeah, we see how that works. That does not work. Am I lacking empathy for these incidences? Absolutely not. I want my children to be safe wherever they are. Whether we're at the mall, whether we're at the park, whether they're in school. But I want to come about it the right way. Joel was right on. My children go to a local elementary school, my daughter, in a average to above average middle class area. They have I believe they have metal detectors inside the front door. You don't really see them, but it's part of the doorway. You cannot get in the building without buzzing into the office. You have to tell them who you are and why you're there, and then they buzz you in. You can't get into the building any other way. And B, they have a full-time Jackson Township police officer who works directly inside that door all day, every day. Why is that not the case at every school? You can say it may be budgetary, or school doesn't have the money, or whatever other reason you can think of. But you can find it. Make that part of budget. Make that part of state legislation, that every school is given funding to pay for that type of officer. Because clearly, that would help solve the problem. If not more than one, but one. And he's not obtrusive, he's not making it look scary or anything like that. He sits in a little room right inside the door, watching that door all day long, in full uniform, with gun, belt, everything. You're not going to see a problem. So A, that's a measure that needs to be taken. I fully agree. B, it is clearly more than just the gun issue. It is a mental health issue. So much of a mental health issue. 99.9% of these people that cause these incidences is they take these terror actions upon themselves, have had issues before, have had reported issues, have files of issues, are not treated, are not taken seriously, whatever it may be. It happens over and over and over again. And again, this last student had made threats. He had been notified. Apparently he was on an FBI list that they had been contacted about incidents, and yet nothing is done. And yes, we can't live in a full-on government state where they are involved in every second of our lives and every day. We don't want that. However, we have to trust that the authorities take warnings and red flags seriously and not overlook them. They can spend countless days, weeks, and months chasing this stupid Russia probe in the election and this Trump tie-in and all this stuff. But they don't have time to take these threats inside our borders seriously. That is a problem. And the bigger issue, our children are not the same as the children in the 1980s, as children in the 1970s, 60s, and 50s. There is something changing in their attitude, in their environment, into their upbringing. Guns have always been around. Maybe not quite as en masse, but they have always been around. People have always had pistols, hunting rifles, everything else. The lack of discipline that we are allowed to provide to our children as a society is a problem. It is causing a problem. They cannot be disciplined in school. They cannot be disciplined in home. They are being raised in a completely different manner than children of past generations. They are growing up without respect for their fellow man. They are growing up without a sense of right and wrong, about a sense of being responsible. They are attached to social media. They are attached to video games, to TV, to everything else that's causing them to have a delusional view of what the real world and what life is like and what it is about. That is what needs to change, how children are being raised in the household. Do we need a change in gun law? Yes. Not a sweeping banning of weapons. Certain types, an AR-15, a semi-automatic, perhaps, yes. I am on board with that. I understand that that is something that could be done. The process to purchase a gun, again, can be amended, made tougher, stricter background checks, all of that. But again, however, a majority of these incidences occur with weapons that are obtained illegally. So a lot of that stuff wouldn't matter. But still, it should be done. I agree. But the biggest problem is A, fixing the mental health problem, helping these children, these people deal with the issues that they have, finding them help, getting them help, forcing them to take help, and changing the way that we are currently raising our children. I was very fortunate to be raised in a household by a father who was the most loving, caring, compassionate man you could ask for, but was also a strict disciplinarian who didn't take shit, who didn't take disrespect, and he forced us to grow up in a manner respecting everyone else. That's the type of household that children need to be raised in. No, it doesn't all need to be the same, but they need to be disciplined. They need to be held accountable for their actions, for choices they make. And we need to change their view of the world. Because it's obvious in the last 10, 15 years, things have gone way askew in how children are looking at society, how society is raising our children, and parents are not raising their children. So my prayers and my heart go out to the families of these students in Overland Park. My heart goes out to every family that's ever been affected by a school tragedy. And I pray with every breath in my body that my children and their schools are never affected by something like this. But again, we need to use common sense on how we're approaching these, on how we're having these arguments with people about what will fix the problem. And we need to take appropriate measures to fix society, to fix our children. Because it starts within the home. And until you start at point A, you are never going to successfully get to point B. We need to change how we are raising our children. We need a better approach to mental health. And we need our authoritative bodies to take more responsibility in responding to and managing known threats and known individuals. This is my take. This is how I feel.
All right, thanks, Kevin. That's a pretty heavy topic to talk about. I understand that. And this is a podcast, and at the end of the day, our podcast is about, feeling good, feeling better, change. Well, that is change. That's change in a direction that I think we would all agree we need to go on. I talked about the weed thing on Chael's podcast for the ones that listen to just our show and not Chael's show. I'll start from the beginning. I have a group of friends. I call them friends. I work out at the same club, and there's a group of people that I see about the same time because we work out at the same time in the hot tub. We're older. We talk about the fact that we're older. Body feels different. I never thought I would be that guy that would say, wow, I'm getting older. I really never thought I would. I look at people that are 51 years old and I'm like, man, they are a wreck. And I look in the mirror and I'm like, dude, look, man, you're 51. You cannot act like, you've got a bad wrist. You've got some problems, man. You've got some problems. So for whatever reason, we were talking about getting older. I was thinking about, I've been really spending a lot of time thinking about, I want to go out hard. I mean, not like in a flame, I want to live life to the end. I want to change my life so I'm living all of the time, that I'm getting as much out of life as I can, because now I can see the end. Whether that's 30 years from now or 15 or whatever, I couldn't see the end 20 years ago. I can see the end now. I've already lived. I've probably lived over half my life. So, for whatever reason, I decided that I was going to get some marijuana. It's legal in the state of Oregon. And I was going to smoke it and work out. And the reason the workout is in my past, there's only been a couple times that I smoked weed. I smoked weed in college a little bit, but it was a part of a drunk, Well, I mean, I could have done numerous things, but I was getting drunk. So whether I smoke some weed or not, I would have never considered myself a weed head, a guy that, always had to have weed. I had some friends that smoked a lot of weed, but I wasn't one of those. I was an athlete, even though, a lot of the athletes smoke weed. A lot of athletes smoke weed now. I wasn't really into it. It wasn't where I was making a statement like, you're a weed head, you're a stoner, this, that, and other. It just really, I really didn't like being high. I got my heart broke in college at the University of Kansas. And I started smoking weed. And I hated being high, so I used to go on really, really long bike rides. I used to work out high. I did this for, a sustainable period of time, where I would work out high. I would use the weed as something that I would escape into a workout. I mean, we're talking 1992, right before I meet Jennifer, and then I quit smoking weed. Years later, I would smoke some and go golfing, but for the most part, the longest time I ever smoked weed was a 3-month period at the University of Kansas before I met Jennifer. Smoked a little bit when we started going out, but she didn't like it, so she kind of said, "Don't do that." Wasn't that big a deal to me anyway, so I didn't do it. Well, years later, I would smoke a little bit and play golf, but I'd never been a weed head. But so for whatever reason, I was thinking, you know what? I'm gonna smoke some weed and go get a workout in. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? That would be a pretty good bit for the show. So last Saturday, because I wasn't watching the fights, I went to the gym, smoked a little weed outside, walked in, and I swam for an hour. And then I thought during the high, I was high. I was swimming again. I don't like to be high around people. I was swimming, and I was like, you know what? This isn't bad. I lost track of counting the laps, but I always lose track of counting the laps. I said I will swim for 16 songs, and I did. I swam up and down for 16 songs, and then I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to make a bit of it. I think I'm gonna make a bit of it. I think I'm gonna record, and I did. I recorded the first one before and after. Then I went on Chill Show, and I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it every day for a week, and I'm gonna see if what I think of it. Talked to a friend of mine, Reese, and he was like, "That's a bad idea. You're smoking weed. That's a bad idea. You're going to be in the bar next. You're going to go on a bender." And I thought about that, and Reese's point was, dude, all you do is talk about working out. You're not having a problem working out. You can't use the weed to work out. If you want to use it as a bit, you've made a bit. You're not weed guy. It's not going to work out for you. And as he's saying this, I'm like, I would be saying the same thing to him. I would be saying the exact same thing to him. So I decided, you know what, you're right. You're right. The swim was good. I did an hour bike ride where I was high at the beginning. I don't think I was high at the end. Again, I think an hour hard workout will get you through being a guy that takes a couple drags of marijuana. Did I enjoy the workout being high? You know what, I probably did. Did I enjoy it any better had I not been high? Probably not. It would have been different. I think about different things. Obviously, I'm high. I'm impaired. I just smoked weed. It's a drug. It's a drug. It's a legal drug now, but it is a drug. I also learned, because as soon as the information came out, I also learned that there's different kinds of weed. There's something called Septivia that gives you energy, and that's what you want to smoke to go work out. Then there's something else that makes you want to eat Pringles and sleep. Then there's CBD oil that doesn't actually get you high, but is good for you. I'm gonna probably look into that. I'm gonna probably look into that because I would love to be healthier with something natural, and that's what that is. If it doesn't get me high, but am I gonna keep smoking weed so I can use it to go get a workout in? No. I was stony for 2 times. Am I going to continue to do it? No. Do I want to be a human experiment? No. I have lived, I've lived a lifetime of not, I could have smoked weed the whole time. I chose not to. I don't know why or what I was thinking that obviously I'm thinking I'm getting older. I think I'm getting older. I'm growing my hair out right now because it's thinning a little bit in the middle. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna quit voluntarily getting rid of my hair. If it's gonna fall out, it's gonna fall out on its own. But I'm gonna quit getting it cut. I don't care how, I'm gonna grow it out. I'm gonna grow it out. I am not gonna have short hair anymore. That's a part of age. That's part of being old. I didn't think, when I was younger and I was never going to be old. I had different thoughts, but I don't now. So obviously, me as a stony is not something that I'm going to continue. I am going to continue the conversation because there was an overwhelming response from the weed world. They sent me information. A lot of people said, hey, I work out high all the time. I want to ask those people, do you work out high all the time, or do you get high all the time and you happen to get high before you work out? I want to know. Who you are that responded to me about that. A lot of you said, hey, that's brilliant. Let's bring the weed heads over to 8192. Well, weed is pretty prevalent in our society. But again, where I'm going with this is, if there's something called CBD oil and it can help me with joint pain and it doesn't get me high, I definitely want to look into that for sure, 100%. And does this mean I'll never smoke weed again? I don't know, but I'm not planning to go back to the gym and run for an hour high like I was. I did it twice. I did the swim. I did the bike. I did enough of the bit that I could come over here and give that to you. Again, that's a hot talking point. I will hear more from you about the weed than I do about another hot topic, which was autism. I mean that's a big part of that's a big hard topic that we just talked about, and the school shooting. I'm going to hear more regarding the weed than I am that. I'm also going to have to talk to Lad about it. I'm not, he's going to be like, Dad, why were you smoking weed? That's going to embarrass him. And I think that's probably where we get him off of listening to the show. I want Lad's opinions to be his own. I need to be cognizant of that. Lad is a very, very good kid. Very, very good. Miss H and I have done a very good job. And he's good people. But yeah, I think moving forward, I think that can be a tool to have Lad come on and be part of the show. If I'm going to say something right next to him, obviously he can listen to it and go back and listen to those shows. But, sometimes I talk about different things. Sometimes I'm being the Godfather. Sometimes I'm being, a brute. a bit of a chauvinist. So those are some things that I don't really want to hear out of Lad. Those kids I talked about earlier that were making fun of the shooting. I have a hard time believing there's people in my generation that have children that it was coming out of their parents' mouth, but I could be wrong, man. I could be wrong. There's nothing funny about that. There is zero funny about that. So there's the weed angle, the weed bit. I do want to bring people on that are weed people, that are successful in life. I have a friend of mine that is a weed person, and he is successful in life. He's probably not going to come on and talk about it, but there are. I believe that person, if that person drank alcohol a couple times a week, got drunk a couple times a month, and had a successful life as opposed to the weed. I just think those people are going to stay on task, but I do think overall, people that are smoking weed all the time, I could be wrong. Stereotypically that they're not the most motivated people in the world. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not offending people, but I'm sure I did. And that is what it is. Some fights this weekend. I have been on a roll. There are 3 fights of note. Yancy Medeiros is fighting Cowboy Cerrone. I believe that Cowboy's taken too much punishment, and unfortunately, he is not the same fighter that he was just a little bit ago. And I am rooting for him. I am rooting for Cerrone, but the fact is, the younger fighter is Yancy here, and I don't know who the favorite is, but based on the fact that I've unfortunately watched Donald take too much damage, I'm gonna pick Yancy. Derek Lewis is fighting Martin Tibera. I think Derek Lewis is a slight underdog, even though he's ranked higher than the guy. I'm going to go with Lewis because I like Lewis, and that's it. I don't know enough about the other guy. I like Derek Lewis. I'm a mark for Derek Lewis. I'm going to pick him. And then I'm going to pick Roy Nelson. I do believe Roy Nelson's going to win that fight. So if you're going just betting-wise, I would take Yancy and see if you can pair it up with Nelson. You want to pick one good winner out of those 3. I think you pick Yancy. You want to, and then Nelson would be number 2, and Derek Lewis would be number 3. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for joining me. Peace.
Alpha Brain Instant is the fastest way to help optimize your mental performance without the use of any supplements, any stimulants. In 2 double-blind trials, the Alpha Brain formula has demonstrated it has the ability to help improve memory, improve focus, and mental processing speed in healthy adults by properly transmitting and targeting neurotransmitted precursors directly. This Means Alpha Brain may help you remember names, places, focus on complex tasks, and improve your reaction time to external stimuluses. Guys, Alpha Brain Instant is Brother Sin's go-to, whether it's in the office before a client meeting, whether it's before I hop on the mic for a podcast. I tear open that little packet, sprinkle it into a 20-ounce bottle of water, shake it up, and down it, and within minutes, my head is clear, my headaches are gone, and I'm able to focus, enunciate, and speak better than without. Go to Onnit.com right now and save 10% on Alpha Brain Instant by using the code GETONIT at checkout. And you can go directly through the link on our Facebook page. Throw some Alpha Brain Instant in the cart, go to checkout, use the code GETONNIT. Save 10% off on your Alpha Brain Instant. Save even more by subscribing to the Get On It program every 30 days, every 60 days, every 90 days. However often you're going to need your supply restocked, they will send it to you automatically and at a deeper discount than buying one at a time. So ignite your brain now, like Brother Sin, with Alpha Brain Instant and save 10% off using the code GETONIT. Alpha Brain and Onnit, made only from the best ingredients on planet Earth. At only 95 calories and 3.4 grams of carbohydrates per 8-ounce glass, 13.9% alcohol and only 0.2 grams of sugar, Fit Vine wine truly is the treat that allows you to enjoy tonight without sacrificing tomorrow. So when you're like Brother Sin and you need just a little of the good red stuff to soften the edges, but you're worried about your macronutrient count or your fitness, enjoy Fit Vine wine. Enjoy tonight without sacrificing tomorrow. Drink Fit Vine. With Equifax's new lock and alert system, you can quickly and easily lock and unlock your Equifax credit report with a simple click or a swipe of the phone, with a confirmation alert immediately sent to you. Equifax is helping put you in control of your Equifax credit report. And we know that no 3-digit number has a greater impact on your life than your credit score. Whether it's buying a car, closing on a mortgage, or even getting the best possible rate on your Travel Miles credit card, your credit score has a deeply lasting impact on every day of your life. Stay on top of your credit, monitor it regularly, and let Equifax help you. Go to Equifax.com now for your copy of your free annual credit report. Equifax, helping you stay in charge of your credit.